Hi, welcome to another episode of Discover at Home. I am Leisha Johnson, one of the naturalists at the North Lakeland Discovery Center. Thanks for coming out here today and joining me for our fun little series where we bring some nature fun to you at home. And today we are going to be in our family sugar bush. Today is boiling day to make some beautiful syrup. So I'm going to run you through the process and show you how it happens. It's a pretty simple process, but it is a lot of work, and you'll see why when it comes out it tastes so good. So let's see how we actually get our sugar bush to produce some syrup. So the first thing you need to do is try to figure out which trees are sugar maples and which trees are red maples. Both trees have opposite branching, which means when their twigs come off of a branch, they come out opposite of each other versus alternate, where you'd have one coming out on the right hand side, one coming out on the left, one coming out on the right. So look for trees that have their branching opposite. I have two examples here. We have our red maple and our sugar maples that are the most common. And so the way to determine the difference is to look at the buds of the tree. Now, if you've got a red maple, the twigs are reddish in color. Let's see if I can get to focus. Reddish in color, and they're really round. So we say that red maples have red, round buds. And if you're looking at a sugar maple, those ones, they're really dark brown and they're really sharp. So sugar is sharp and brown, like that one there. And our red maples are red and round.
Best to drill about 2 feet above the snow cover, above the roots here. And it usually runs the best when the roots are starting to expose like this. So the ground, the base of the tree is starting to expose. That's when it's really starting to pump the sap up the trees. Most of the pumping and the moisture that goes up the tree is just inside the cambium layer, which is just inside the tree a little ways. But you want to drill a hole about 2.5 inches in. You use a little bit of gravity and drill it at a little bit of an angle, about 2 feet up. I'm going to clear a little bark so it doesn't get in our way later and get dirt collecting. So we have enough juice here. We're running low on juice. 1/2 inches in. Now there's lots of different kinds of taps, but we're going to use today this plastic white one. There's the old metal ones. And these are built to kind of protect the tree and seal up real good. So they have these ribs on them, and they're tapered so that they'll actually plug the tree. When you get done, you don't want any sap running down the tree when you're done. So we'll put it here. See that it's cut open on the bottom because the sap's coming up from the bottom of the tree. Plus you got a little reservoir because we drilled in behind that. And then we're gonna just get it started in here. You usually take a block of wood so you don't bust your tap. Set it there. Make it nice. You don't want to overdo it, but you want it snug enough so you're not going to let it drain down the tree anymore. The bucket hole, so it fits over the tap. That way no rain gets in because of the bucket top. You want to keep the bugs out, any bark debris, anything that gets in there, and then you don't have to strain it so much. If you can prevent much debris and whatever staying out of your buckets, got cleaner syrup.
Sap runs the best when it's below freezing at night and over 40 during the day. This is the time to check your buckets and collect all the sap that has flowed out. Carrying a bucket around to collect your sap saves a lot of time versus carrying each sap bucket over to your pan. Here is a picture of our sugar shack. We have a simple but efficient design for boiling our sap: cinder blocks with a wood fire underneath, a stainless steel evaporating pan. There's a front cover that helps create something like a wood stove-like effect, and a stovepipe to help keep the draw going and the fire burning hot. It's important to have lots of wood on hand. You'll burn more than you think you will. Before adding the fresh sap to the pan, we first filter it with a screen. This is one of 2 times that we will filter our sap before finishing off as syrup. Sometimes there will be ice that collects, and that's okay. It can just go on the ground. You start by adding your sap to the evaporator pan and get a really good fire going. Before you know it, it's boiling and it's starting to smell very sweet. Hope you enjoy this time because you'll spend a lot of time watching it boil. Sometimes you'll get foam forming on the surface of the sap. It's fun to scoop this off and toss it on the ground. This is probably my favorite activity. Keeps a more efficient boil and evaporation going in your pan. You must keep adding sap to your fire, but adding a bunch at once will cool it down and stop your boil. So we've developed a fun way for it to can, and as my nephew says, it pees out into the rest of the pan. This allows new sap to go in slowly, but still filling up the pan without cooling down the sap too much. Depending on how much sap you have, you could spend 10 to 12 hours watching it boil. You can sit in the sun and enjoy a beautiful spring day. You can have a snack with a new friend. You can just sit and enjoy the fire and the smell of the evaporation. You can turn a stick into a drill press. You can play in the mud. Sometimes it's fun to taste that sap as it comes right out of the tree. Nice sugary little sap. On average, it takes about 40 gallons of sap to boil down to 1 gallon of syrup. So you need a lot of sap to make it worth your while to put all this together. Sometimes you start in the morning and you'll boil into the night. Once you have no more sap to add and it's boiled down to about 1 to 1.5 inches to the bottom of the pan and turns a pretty amber color, it's time to remove it from the pan. You never want to leave it on too long because it could burn and ruin your entire batch. So we put it out here through a filter one more time into a pot. This will be brought inside and finished on the stove. Inside, it should get to about 219 degrees, start to foam up, and then turn it off, and now it is time to scoop it into your jars. We prepare jars by sterilizing them in hot water and getting them completely dry. You then fill up the jars to about 1/4 inch from the top and put the lids on. I sped this up a little bit because it can be a process to fill up the jars just right. Once you have the jar all filled, you put that lid on, and when you touch the top of the lid, it should pop up and down. When you're all done, it should not pop. We turn them upside down and wait for about 24 hours before handling them again. And now your syrup is complete. Thank you for joining me today for our Discover at Home episode. For more information on the Discovery Center, please visit discoverycenter.net, and we'll see you around the sugar bush.